All right, today we're talking about isosceles and equilateral triangles. And we've talked a little bit about isosceles triangles, but we're going to cover them in detail today. So, a couple of names and terms that you need to be familiar with. Let's get an isosceles triangle on your paper. Remember, that's two congruent sides. All right. In an isosceles triangle, you've got two congruent sides, you've got two congruent angles. The congruent sides are called legs. Now, there's one leg and here's the other leg. The third side of an isosceles triangle, the non-congruent side, that's called the base. The two congruent angles those are called base angles. This angle up top, the third angle, the non-congruent angle, that's called the vertex angle. And we'll talk about a couple of rules here before we move on. And we're going to say that if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent. If two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are congruent. So if you get a picture of a triangle and you're told with tick marks that two sides are congruent, it's your responsibility to understand that those angles opposite those sides, these base angles, are also congruent. All right? And the converse of that you need to know as well is that if two angles of a triangle are congruent, then the sides opposite those angles are congruent. So two real important rules about isosceles triangles. If two sides are congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are also congruent. And if the two angles are congruent, if any two angles in a triangle are congruent, then the the sides opposite of those are congruent. So don't write this, just watch. You'll get a little bit more out of it if you just watch. All right. That if I give you a picture, if I give you this picture and I say this, and I ask you for the measurement of angle X, what's the measure of angle X down here? It's 40 degrees, okay? Because the two sides were congruent, then the angles opposite those sides are also congruent. So that's one way that you can be told that the sides are congruent with measurements. In this case, if you get this picture, what's the length of side AB? Why?
6.
Very good. Because if two angles are congruent, then the sides opposite those angles are congruent. So you can also be told, you can get this same picture. And be asked for side MN. All right, side MN would be 10 as well. If the angles are congruent, then the sides opposite are congruent. If two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles opposite those two sides are also congruent. So let's write this one down and let's do this problem right here. No, not yet. I'm sorry. Erase that. Got ahead of myself. All right, here we go. A triangle is equilateral if and only if it is equiangular. A triangle is equilateral if and only if it is equiangular. You guys remember what equilateral means?
All sides are the same.
All sides are the same. Very good. So equilateral is right here. Here's a triangle with all the sides are the same. And all those sides are going to be the same when all these angles are the same. And vice versa. Okay? A triangle is equilateral if and only if it is equiangular. And the converse of that is true. We can say that if all sides of a triangle are congruent, then all angles are congruent, and measure if all the angles in a triangle are congruent. They're all the same as each other. What is each of their measure going to be?
Same.
Degrees, very good, 60 degrees. Because the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180. And if they all have to be the same, 180 divided by 3 is 60. You guys all right with that? All right, so let's apply some of these rules. We are going to find each measure. And in this case, we've got this triangle. Triangle XYZ. Side XZ is 8. Angle X is 60. And side XY is also 8. And find each measure. We're going to go angle Z, angle Y, and side ZY. All right, so we got two sides of a triangle and they're congruent to each other, agreed? What do you know about the angles opposite those sides? They're congruent as well. So if angle X up here is 60 degrees, how many degrees do we have left for Z and Y? We got 120 left, right? So because if you take 180, you subtract 60, you get 120. And don't Z and Y have to be equal to each other? So what do you do with this 120? Divide it by 2, and you're left with 60 degrees. So angle Z is equal to 60 degrees. Angle Y is equal to 60 degrees. So if all the angles in the triangle are congruent, what do you know about all the sides? Good. So what is side ZY equal to? It's equal to 8.
One.
Everybody at home get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm confused still.
Say again.
I'm kind of confused still.
On
Yeah, me too.
where are you confused?
Like, with the 180 and 60. So you take away 60 from the 180 and then you divide it by 2. Like, why did you divide it by 2?
Divided it by 2 because angle Z and angle Y are congruent to each other. So they have to be equal to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if the three angles in the triangle, they have to add up to 180, right?
Yeah.
So if you know they have to add up to 180 and you subtract this
Oh.
60-degree angle, you have 120 degrees left.
Oh.
Angle Z and angle Y together have to equal 120. But if they're equal to each other, Well, then you just can divide the 120 by 2.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
It would look like this algebraically. If we put the variable x to represent those two angles, we would have 60 plus x has to equal 180. And we would combine like terms and subtract 60 from each side. And look what we would get. We would get 2x equals 120. And we would divide both
Mm.
sides by 2. And x would be equal to 60. So what we did was kind of, this is the algebraic way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this way up here is kind of the shortcut way to do it.
All right.
Make more sense?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's try to find the value of each variable here. We're going to find the value of each variable. And here's our triangle. Triangle ABC. We know that side AB is congruent to side AC. Side AB is 3 inches. Angles A and B are both 2x. And side BC is 4y minus 5. Now I want you to take a look at it. You raising your hand? What's up? Yeah. Probably, yeah. All right, what she said was, is the 4y minus 5 equal to 3, and is angle C equal to 2x? And she's right. And here's why she's right. If you look at this triangle, you have two angles that are congruent to each other. Angle A is 2x and angle B is 2x. Well, by rule, that means that the sides opposite those angles are also congruent. So this side is congruent to this side, which makes the three sides of this triangle all congruent to each other. And if the sides of a triangle are all congruent to each other, then we said that all the angles are congruent to each other. So this angle C would be equal to 2x. So if we solve for x first, we've got a 2x plus a 2x plus a 2x that has to equal 180. So if we combine like terms, 6x equals 180. We divide by 6, and x is equal to 30. So there's one of your variables. As far as the y variable goes, if all the sides are congruent, then 4y minus 5 is equal to 3. And if you add 5 to each side, then 4y will equal 8. Can divide both sides by 4. And y is equal to 2. So those are the values of each variable in that picture. Any questions on that problem?
Nope.
All good.
All right, that was so much fun. Let's do it again. Let's do one more. Uh-huh. Now we've got this picture. And this side over here on the left is 4y minus 2. Side on the right is 2y plus 2. We've got an 80-degree angle. We've got an angle that is 6x plus 8. And we've got these two sides that are congruent. I'm going to label these vertices to make this a little easier to talk through. We're going to call this A, B, and C. Now, if AC is congruent to CB, what else do we know to be true in this triangle? I don't know if you know that. Angles A and angle B are congruent to each other, aren't they? Okay. So what's angle A equal to? 6x plus 8, right? Now, someone said a minute ago that AB was also congruent. How do you kind of know after glancing at this again that AB is not the same as the other two sides? What's the clue in this picture? The clue is this, isn't it? If all the sides of a triangle are the same, aren't all the angles the same? If all the angles in a triangle are the same, what do they each measure? They each measure 60. So as soon as one angle is not 60, that means the sides can't all be the same. All right? But with these two congruent sides, we know that these two angles down here are congruent. So I'm going to solve for the x first. Now, look, you can either write 6x plus 8 plus 6x plus 8 plus 80 equals 180, or you can say that 2 of the 6x plus 8s plus 80 equals 180. You can subtract the 80 from each side. So you've got 2 times 6x plus 8 equal to 100. Now you can do the distributive property, or you can divide both sides by 2. So your 6x plus 8 would equal 50. And then subtract 8 from each side. Your 6x equals 42. And then you can divide both sides by 6. And x equals 7. So that takes care of our x value. Our y value, we can write an equation that 4y minus 2 is equal to 2y plus 2. Can subtract 2y from each side. So 2y minus 2 equals 2. Can add 2 to each side. So your 2y is equal to 4. And then you can divide both sides by 2. and y equals 2. All right, so any questions on any of the problems that we've done today?
Oh wait, Mr. Holzenbeck,
Yes, sir.
for when you are solving for x, so when you get rid of the 2, do you just get rid of the other 6x plus 8?
Yes, because we did 2 times 6x plus 8. We could have wrote this. We could have wrote, let me see, let me try to show you this. All of this right here
Mm-hmm.
would be the same as writing this. Looking for some space. Would be the same as writing 6x plus 8 plus 6x plus 8 plus 80 equals 180. I just wrote it as 2 of the 6x plus 8s, or 2 times 6x plus 8.
Okay.
It's a lot simpler.
Okay.
Agreed?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
if you
it's
do all this
simpler.
math, you're going to get the same answer anyway. But we did it in less steps.
Okay.
Any other questions from any of those problems? Okay, your practice for today. First thing I'm going to have you do is copy down a couple of problems. So you are going to find the value of each variable. And I'm going to call this number 21. And here's your triangle. And then I'm going to call this second problem, problem 22. All right, now after you complete those problems, page 53. One through 8. Page 54 in the workbook. 1 through 9. And when you've completed all of that, I would like you to check focus. For homework. I uploaded a study guide and a quiz to the resources tab on focus. Please don't mess with that until Thursday and Friday of this week. There's also a quiz number 7 on focus. Please don't mess with that until Friday of this week. All right, it's not affecting your grade in any way. It's just I'm trying to get some work done before I leave Wednesday afternoon. So, are there any questions from e-learners?
No.
All good.
No? Okay.
Okay, I need you guys to check out then, please. And after that, I will end this Zoom meeting.
I'm Caitlin. I'm leaving.
I'm Lucas. I'm leaving.
I'm Ryan and I'm leaving.
I'm Andres and I'm leaving.
This is Kiara and I'm leaving.
This is Isaiah and I'm exiting the call.